Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed. We're coming up to 34,000 subscribers on the podcast channel right now. The Mind Management Mentors podcast, talking about everything mindset, mental health, workplace wellness, and how we can manage our minds for a healthier state of presence, if you like. Thank you very much to everybody who's liked and subscribed so far to the podcast. My name's Cuddy Cudworth. I'm sure you all fully well know that. However, this podcast is something different because I've done this 1,000 times and I didn't know what was going on until I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and I was like, oh, we need to talk about that on the podcast. This is something everybody needs to know. And I'm going to be very honest, this podcast could save your life. And I will put that header there. This podcast could save your life. So, as if you were on blind date, introduce yourself, tell us what you do and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Jim Primrose, the owner of Primrose Driving School, local driving school in Fife. And we have a couple of drivers, myself included, one being trained as we speak, and we teach youngsters how to drive. But we do more than that. We talk about road safety every single minute of every single day. And we are working with local businesses to improve their area within their social responsibility objectives within their business, and also looking at the community that they serve. And ask one question: are you happy about the driving you see in your local community?
That's a good
Um,
question.
because there is the question we ask local businesses. It's not about selling anything, it's about changing mindset. And here we are talking with the expert on that. Um, so yes, we have won many awards um, for within our business. I'm very proud of that, and we are all about teaching people the correct way to become safe drivers for life. And what we are going to talk about today, amongst other things,
I'll
will
tell her the
save.
subject. It's all right, Jim. I'll tell her the subject. I know you very well, Jim, and I know that I'm barely going to speak in this podcast because I know that when I ask you one question, we're going to get an hour of content. I know that full well. However, the reason I brought you on is because the subject that you're going to talk about today, I do it all the time. When I'm driving all the way, I go out to see my parents in Blackpool, and I could have slept for 20 hours before I even think about setting off. And I start doing this, to be fair, about 20 minutes after I start driving. It's that quick for me. And I basically want to know what to do, but I want to know what is going on because I am fully aware that when we're driving, we go into a hypnotic state. We go to a different state of brain consciousness, and we can actually go into a flow state of where we know everything that's going on, we know how to drive, and we know how to go where we're going, but we zone out. But this is going one level deeper, and I do this a lot. So it is micro sleeps. What are they? Why are they happening? And how do you get out of it?
Okay, well, the first thing is, what is a microsleep? A microsleep is where we fall asleep for as little as 2 seconds, and then we wake up again. And most of the time, you won't know you've done it. It's just something you drift into and you drift out of. And it could be something as when you're driving, a bump in the road, and it gives you a wee jolt. It could be the rumble strip on the side of a motorway where your car moves a little bit and it wakes you up because you hear the noise. So, but what is it? It's when the brain has essentially had enough. It needs to switch off just for a couple of seconds to reset, and off you go again. The scary thing is, on a motorway, and let's use the example going to Blackpool, travelling at 70 miles per hour, and you have a 2 second microsleep. The car travels 62 metres,
Oh my God.
and it will continue to travel whatever trajectory it takes until it hits something, and it stops or it smashes into a million pieces. More often than not, killing anyone that's near it. Most commonly, the driver and the occupants. So the microsleep itself, what can we do? We have got to plan ahead. Blackpool may be 3.5 hours from here, from Fife, not sure.
It is. I always say 4 hours with a pee break.
4 hours with a pee break. And there's the important part. You may hold the pee in for quite a bit longer than you should. And you might be into your third hour of driving and you'll go for your break. It's recommended every 2 hours of driving on long journeys, stop for a break, a walk around, something to eat, some fresh air, anything but driving. And then you can prepare your mind for the next 2 hours and the next 2 hours and the next 2 hours. And it's not about distance travelled, it's about circumstances, situations. For example, sitting in traffic jams. The car might be moving very slowly, might be sitting still until you need to move it, and you may have fallen asleep for 2 seconds several times. And that's where you hear horns being peeped and these kind of things because the traffic's not crawling along. So the 2 hours in the car, you might not have moved more than 5 miles because you're in a big traffic jam. So time passes and you are in full command of your vehicle. So you have to find a way to pull over and stop. And on a motorway, the safest place to stop is in the services. So you have to plan your journey before you start and you pick out your favourite services, of which there are many nice service stations between here and Blackpool, and there are many not so nice. I'll leave that for you to decide. and But yeah, find your favourites and utilise the services. Take a flask of coffee, take a flask of juice, whatever it is, but stop the car, walk around, and get some fresh air.
Why has the brain done too much then? Why? Because the brain, what you say for a micro, because and I'll talk about my experiences with it, to be fair. And it generally happens more on the way back from Blackpool, not when I'm going to Blackpool, probably because I'm excited about going to Blackpool to see my mum and dad. However, why is it, or at what point does the at what point does the brain go, I need a rest?
Well, the brain in itself is functioning and is doing all this stuff. Clearly, the simple way to put it is tiredness. It could be overworked. You've got all these compartments in there storing different information. What did I do at work today? What have I still got to do when I get home tomorrow? What am I going to do when I get see mum and dad? Where are we going tonight for a nice meal? Is it the same place? Blah, da, 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 da. And it goes on and on. So you think about everything plus trying to concentrate on the hardest thing that any one of us ever does is driving a car and on busy roads at high speed a lot of the time, which is, we talk about microseconds of judgment. We're not Grand Prix drivers. We're never going to get close to them
My
who can
wife
think.
says I am.
The wife says, yeah, well, there you are. There's maybe your reason. That good, you're still talking to us. Now, we drive too fast. We've not got the reaction time and so on, but it's basically just fatigue. And of course, there are many products on the market that would tell you you can use us and we'll get you where you need to be. We will keep you awake. So will 25 cups of coffee.
I've tried them. They don't work.
Yeah,
I
they'll keep
tried the
you
little
awake.
energy shots,
Yeah,
which was
because
supposed
the
to give me
brain,
60 minutes of a boost, and I'm like that did nothing.
there you go. So advertising is a great thing. And from the simple answer is the brain is like a computer. If it runs out of battery, it switches off. So the more tired you get, the more stuff you ask it to process, it will get slower in its reaction time. It will say, hold on a minute, and then you'll be back again. Your eyes won't even close. They'll be
They
open.
don't. I'll share an experience because my dog sits in the front. Not that my dog's got pride of place in the car, But my dog, because it gets quite rattly in the back, sits in the front. My wife sits in the back, so she feels like she's getting chauffeured round. But it just happened coming back, which is why when you started talking about that networking event, I'm like, oh my God, I do that. Oh my God, all the time. So I was driving along, I was going whatever the speed limit is, probably a little bit more. And I can feel my eyes going and I can feel, so I move. I ask my wife to scratch my head because that keeps me awake, or she slaps me, or I start slapping my feet because I've not been driving long. This is the thing, I've not been driving along. So I'm driving along. And I keep going, and I'm like, they're going, they're going. And then the next second, I feel like I've had a heart attack. I'm like, oh my God, how long was I asleep? And it's that micro sleep. I genuinely was like, oh my God. And I'm like, is everyone all right? And it was just so absolute. My heart was going at 1,000 beats a minute. And I was like, oh my God, what's happened? But as it turned out, it was only that millisecond of closing my eyes, but the fear and the dread that I had, I just wanted to know. I mean, I know that the brain is processing everything all the time, subconsciously, consciously, it has to process every part of the information, and it's deleting information it doesn't need.
Yeah,
So so my premise, like for an example, right now, Jim, you're sat and you don't realize that you can touch or you can feel the touch of your toes in your shoes. Now,
yeah.
until I bring that to your attention, you'll be like, oh my God, yeah, I can, because your brain's deleting that information, but it is storing it, but it is deleting it. It's deciding and having a judgment. Does it need to know if I can feel my toes in my shoe? No. Delete, 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 delete. So I completely understand that the brain is always working. But I genuinely, when you talked about that networking, I'm like, oh my God, I do that. And I just wondered what was going on. But you've explained it so clearly that it's just said, right, enough's enough.
The other thing is, I don't know the answer to this, but I know a guy that can help. Does your wife drive?
No, she does not.
Well, we need to sort that out. Okay.
And to be
Now,
fair, she talks to me the whole way or helps me on the drives. If she was driving, I would sleep from setting off to getting there. Because I've always been able to sleep when traveling.
yeah. So if you are, that's another solution to the problem. If you like, you still need your brakes, but you decide who's going to. She doesn't drive, so it's not going to work unless the dog's a good driver. The
The dog, no, we tried with the dog, it didn't work.
it didn't work. Yeah, that's what I thought. So yeah, so that would be another solution. You would share the driving, and we are all very precious. Speed limit in the UK motorway is 70 mile an hour unless road signs etc. tell you different. Now the reality is most people want to get there a bit quicker, so they'll drive at 75, 80, whatever it is. And that's everybody. I don't care who it is. If they say they don't, well, they're telling lies. Okay? Simple as. Now, the reality is, I'll just drive. I'll drive. Our daughter lives in South Lanarkshire. So we drive up and down. And I'll drive. I'll drive. Because you just think, hey, you're going to do it better, you're going to get there quicker because of that. And it's just nonsense because we drive pretty much in a similar fashion by way of speed, decision making, and all that. Not that it doesn't stop the odd discussion about why are we going this way from time to time. And Angela usually says, you go your way, I'll go mine. I think there's a song there somewhere. But we, yeah, we think we're the, the, the Grand Prix champion. We think we're the best driver in the family, so we're driving. I'm driving. No, I'll take it. It's busy roads out there. I'll do it. To be frank, I quite like getting in the driver's seat because I spend so much time in the passenger seat
Aye,
in my day job.
aye.
But that's one solution. So don't be afraid to share the driving. It could be 90 minutes, half an hour, 90 minutes, half an hour to break that routine. That repetitive job
Yeah,
um, of basically you have to keep your eyes open and concentrate about everything. I'll check the sat nav. I'll change the music. This kind of thing.
yeah. So my
Um,
wife, we always play quizzes in the on the drive. So my wife asked me questions from quizzes. So because we're talking about driving and those kind of things, which is really important, especially for safety for everyone. The one thing I always remember from my dad years ago, and I shared this in another podcast, which was once I passed my driving test, my dad, I went home to my dad, and my dad said, "Now you've passed your test, son, I'll show you how to drive." And
Mhm.
I thought that was a really, really honest thing for him to say. He's like, you've passed your test, you do what you need to do now to pass the test, but now, because he was a lorry driver. So he says, now I'll show you how to drive properly and safely. And he shared one thing with me that no one had ever shared with me before, and it sticks with me today. When you're driving along in the fog and the lights are on and you're getting blinded from someone coming up, or without the fog, if someone's blinding you on the drive in, always don't look at the road, don't look at the lights, look down to the curb or the side of the road and just keep your wheels aligned with the side of the road. So if it's going around the corner, you'll always be safe. And that always stuck with me.
Mhm.
But once you've got people pass their test safely, Jim, what's five things you would say to somebody after they've driven past their test? What is it they need to learn to become excellent drivers? If it's not five, it can be three.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say to them? Well, first and foremost, don't forget what you've been taught. Now, people think passing a driving test, and I'm talking generally here, I've got my driving license, yes, and you just
Now
have
I
to
can
look at
drive.
some of the nice cars youngsters are driving. Mine was a Mark One Escort, which had a few different shades of paint on
Ford
it.
Sierra for me.
Yeah. So, so on that, don't forget what you've been taught. Now, we talk about, and your dad's, it's brilliant to hear what your dad said. We talk about the language of the road to our students.
Hmm.
We ask them to to translate what the road is saying to them as part of a driving lesson. So, as an example, when you're familiar with the area, so if you're driving from Inverkeithing to Cowdenbeath, as an example, it's quite a bendy road, quite an accident black spot on part of that road, and there's limited road signs on the road, but there are enough. There's road markings, some of them are faded. There's overgrown bushes. There's so much mess and rubbish in the sides or on the sides of the roads. Lots of parts of smashed up cars still lying there, all this kind of thing. And there's a couple of crazy junctions coming on to that particular road as you come out of the black spot. So when you look at a straight road, if you like, you're a lot of you drivers and learner drivers, they look at the car with their head down and they think looking at the bonnet of the car will give them the guidance that they need. As long as I don't hit that, oh, there's something else not to hit. We want the driver to look as far ahead of any road they're driving, and you train them and you coach them to do this, and you ask them what they see. And what you want them to tell you is exactly that. It's not a trick question. So, and it's amazing what they miss. So, if you're looking up that road from Inverkeithing, you will see a bend in the road. That's what most people would say. If you're coming down off the roundabouts, you're coming down Blind Summit, and then you go over the summit and you can see the very top of the hill. But what they're not picking up is that there is a bend in the road. There's a left junction, or there looks like a gap on the left. There are houses. There are trees overgrown. There are bushes. It's quite windy today. Oh, there's a road sign. Da, da, da. The speed limit signs there. The speed limit is painted, albeit faded, on the road as you come in. Then they're telling you what they're seeing, and then a car or four or five cars are coming in the opposite direction, and they won't mention them. They might mention a car, but they won't say there's more traffic now coming onto the road. There are two solid white lines as we're approaching the bend. There's one solid white line on my side. There's broken white lines on the right hand side. They won't pick up on the reasons for all of that information. And the reason we want more roads to be painted correctly and all this is because it tells you a story. You are not allowed to overtake on this road from this side because we are coming into the bend. Strangely, as the guy comes out of the bend, he could come straight out of the bend and jump onto our side and overtake a slow moving vehicle if he likes, or a cyclist or whatever, because he's got a broken white line. The closer the lines are together, the more dangerous it might be. So really pay
Mm.
attention to it. So you're asking them to pick up on all of that. In the dark, you mentioned what your dad said about reduced visibility. We have the cat's eyes on the road. What how can they help us? Well, they show you the shape of the road. Something's better than a white line's going to show it to you in the dark clearly. So there's all of these things. What's a solid white line up the side of the road for? To tell you it's the side of the road.
Oh, right. I thought it was a question. I'm like, I've not done my cycling proficiency or my driving test for
Well,
30
white
or well,
line on the
40
side
odd
of the
years. I
road.
was like, I don't know the answer. I don't know
The
the
white line on the
answer.
side of the road is to tell you that's the side of the road. So yeah, you get the rumble strips on certain roads like motorways, dual carriageways, to tell you you don't want to go any further over here because you're going to hit something which will be a barrier, and that's why it rumbles to give you an audio. So the language of the road is really important. So your dad telling you, you can always see down on that left hand side.
Yeah.
Your eyes on that and follow that. Common sense should prevail, and you should be reducing speed based on the traffic conditions and indeed your personal ability. So for me, the very early stage of their driving, from lesson one, you are preparing them to read what they see. And it's, what are you seeing is the first question. What do you see? And they think it's like this, it's like blinkers. Yeah, where are you looking? I want you to look as if you can see round that corner, round that bend, what might be there. And on that particular road, cyclists, because there's nowhere else for them to cycle on that particular road we're talking about, because it is two lanes of traffic, one going one way, one going the other, nowhere for the cyclist to go. So we might not like a cyclist getting in our way doing 5 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour going up that hill, but I'll never overtake them. But it's unsafe and illegal to do so because we have to protect the cyclist. So yeah, so we teach them the language of the road, and we ask them to continue to do that. So that's one thing. Don't forget.
And that's only one thing. Jesus Christ, Jim. This might be the longest podcast we ever do.
You said you could
What's the
also do three.
second thing?
Second thing is, I'm going to show you this. There's nothing written on this. I don't know if I'll come across. My car, my rules. We teach a thing called the honest truth. Okay? And it takes the myths out of the real reasons people get killed driving cars, the microsleep being one of them, distractions being another, driving too fast another, not wearing your seatbelt another, etc., etc., etc. So when they pass the driving test, they're going to get in the car with their pals. And another one is distractions. The driver is getting distracted because all of a sudden the people in the car with him is not his friendly driving instructor. It is his pals tapping on the shoulder, changing the music, throwing chicken nuggets at each other, whatever it is. There is distractions. You know, hi, what happened to you the day of the game? Bloody hell, you missed a sitter the day. I can't believe you missed that. They're on the rail for the football, whatever it is. So the driver has to have the confidence to say, look, guys, when I'm driving the car, which might even be mum or dad's car, we've got certain rules. And we get them to fill in one of these because it saves them talking about it. That's the rules, guys. It may say, when I drive us to McDonald's, you buy my McDonald's. Drive us
Don't throw
anywhere
in any
else,
chicken
you
nuggets.
chip in, everybody pays £1 for my petrol, plus the cost of the hoovering of it, the car when I get it home. You know, all these things. I am in charge of music. We don't talk about what's on our mobile phones. We switch the phones off when I'm driving. So whatever they think that they need to say to their pals, you will not be drinking in my car, alcohol or otherwise, because I'm the one that has to clean it if it gets spilled. This kind of thing. True story time. I'm picking up a student for a driving lesson. I know his friends group. Great lads, every one of them. One of them, well, they passed their driving test, except the one that's in question. Guess he's got his weekly reminder. Remember to send the payment for your lesson, mate. Cheers, pal. Whenever you can. And with I think it was like a private joke he had. He said, I'm just going to keep Jim waiting until he sends me the big text, you know. A young lad, so it's fine. I taught his sister to drive as well. Now, I get a text, and I get it in the morning because he's arriving home after a concert, and got, he says, Johnny Jim, just picked up the message, I'll be out all night, I'll sort it first thing in the morning. And the text time is 3 a.m. I know who's been at the concert because, and it includes the person I'm going to be seeing the next morning. And so I phoned the said guy, still due to pay me. I said, how was the night? Oh, Jim, oh, God. And he's hungover. All this stuff. He's knackered. All this stuff. I'm now picking up my student. And as always, because this lad's a good young driver, he's getting there. I'm in the passenger seat. I'm in the instructor's chair. And then he comes. How are you doing? He goes, great, Jim. Yeah, what about yourself? Ah, very well, actually. Very well. 2 questions for you this morning. Would you like just to go back to your bed, sneak in, hopefully avoiding mum and dad? Or would you like to go in this chair, to this seat today, and I'll do some demo driving around the roundabouts we were working on last week, and we will advance on to the next week or two. I says, that's the choices for today. Oh, time did you get in this morning? Was the third question. Usual crew out and about. Yeah, yeah. Jump in this seat, mate. Let's go. And he didn't pour his heart out, or he wasn't upset, but it was very quiet in the car, let's say, and it was like, bang, the penny dropped, and it was probably the biggest lesson that lad is going to ever have.
True.
Because when you sit in the car, you say to them, you ask this question, what is the driver's responsibility to keep those inside and outside of the vehicle safe at all times? Not mine as the instructor, not the pals, the passengers, the mums, the dads, the aunties, uncles, sisters, whatever, girlfriends, whatever, the drivers. So it's his responsibility to make those right decisions and understand his responsibilities, because people don't understand. And we all drive around the town, and the same roads you and I will use every day, pretty much. Yeah, and I didn't say more. I could sit here in a soapbox, but it's frightening.
Ah, it is. What's the third thing you would tell somebody after they've passed their test? This is what you now need to learn.
What you now need to learn is don't stop learning. Read, read,
Hey!
read the books. Do your theory test from time to time. Ask questions of those more experienced than you. You have my phone number. You will get into a pickle once or twice. You might think, better not ask mum and dad. I've got mum's new Audi 1 sitting here.
Jesus.
Hi, Jim. Can you, this has happened. I'm not sure if I did the right thing. Pick up the phone. I'll help you. I'll talk to you. I'll talk you through situations, whatever it is, when they're not driving, of course. And it has happened.
That's very
People pick
nice of you,
up.
Jim.
Yeah, because sometimes mum and dad's not the person to speak to. They will be after our conversation because they realise they have to chat about it. But, Jim, I just got caught speeding. What am I going to do now? Don't get another 3 penalty points. And I hope you haven't got 6, or you'll be doing this all over again
Absolutely.
in your first few years.
So
So,
what's when it comes to like driving and what is the biggest killer? I know you've rattled off loads, but what is, in your experience, the biggest cause of the first accident that a lot of new time drivers have? What's the biggest cause?
distraction
It
would be
is distractions, isn't it?
so much. We talked about information earlier. There's so much going on outside of the car, and you throw in the additional new distractions for them that they're now will turn their head or whatever it is, or they'll listen to that. They'll be looking in the mirror because their pal's chatting to them in the back seat potentially, and they will miss what they should be looking at. All the things they'll be looking at for the last 6, 8 months, however long it takes. So they are it's easy to be distracted. Oh, wow, look at that. Bang. Because it's a reactive thing,
Yeah.
you know? So
And what's one of the biggest successes you've seen in one of your students?
well,
What's
one
your
of
biggest win?
the biggest win, well, I would say there's a lot of confident young men, young guys and girls out there, young men and women, who they're just made built for the challenge. But on the other hand, there are drivers who are the absolute opposite end of that scale, Mr. and Mrs. Anxious. And there are several great examples where, without giving anything away, where I know not only has their driving license changed their lives, I did as well because of
Oh,
the patience, the time, the inclusion of them in every discussion that we were having as a coach versus a learner and a student and their parents. And the link between the three elements there is massive and everything is joined up because, and this happens with the confident drivers as well, the confident lads, but we're talking about people who their parents have seen them struggle through school or one thing or another, health, not being a popular person or the populars at school, all this nonsense. But up here, they are brighter than most of them.
yeah,
They just needed someone to tell them that, I guess. Someone that didn't know the history. We deal with the present, and right, okay, because you find things out through experience, knowing people, asking the right questions, waiting for an answer, not preempting the answer and speaking for them, and telling them once in a while, that mistakes aren't always bad.
it's true.
Mistakes can be
There's
good.
some massive learning lessons there, isn't there?
There is, and so there's lots there. So the proudest moment for me is seeing those more fragile youngsters come through, and forevermore, as long as the big man upstairs allows us to breathe on this earth, then I hope that I have, and I know I have, I'm going to have a part of their lives forever because of the
True,
success they had. And it's about them. The most important person in our business is the next driver we're sitting beside, teaching them to drive.
true.
It's not the passes. It's not we had a young woman, zero faults, just another week there, and yeah. I mean, just incredible emotion from her.
Yeah,
Brilliant feedback from her parents and all this, and it was a joy to see that because that is, the you don't just do it for that win. The win that you have is getting somebody to have the confidence to come out of the nursery areas that we work in, to take them for a drive up the road from Inverkeithing to Cowdenbeath and back
mm,
again,
yeah,
and taking them through the different levels of instruction from you telling them what they're going to do to giving them directions and them doing it on their own. And it's not about perfection. You don't need to be perfect to pass a driving test because all you need to do is pass the minimum required standard.
I was definitely the minimum required standards.
Yeah.
I
Well,
still to this day
most of us are.
I passed first time, and the old adage was people that pass first time were the worst drivers.
Well, everybody tells you pass second, you're the best, apparently.
That's right. It's always like, yeah, you've got to fail once. And there was a lot of so I remember some of like the stupid stuff that we'd see. Or it was like, oh, driving instructors are only allowed to pass so many people a day. So if
Exactly.
your driving test is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you're not going to pass because they've already passed too many through the day. And I know it's totally bullshit, but that's the belief systems that we create, right?
Yeah, but let me say on that, the driving test pass rate in the UK has shifted by the odd 1 or 2% in the last 25 years. So, by definition, it doesn't matter what colour or creed you are, whether you're tall or short, good looking or ugly, male or female, you're going to pass or fail based on your 30 to 35 minutes of opportunity to show you've reached the minimum standard required.
I remember I remember how I know that now for the theory driving test you've got so many questions you've got to answer. I know that's it's quite an exam before you get into the car. I remember, and we'll share this before we wrap up, Jim, because I'm very conscious of time, and I know you've had a busy day. But I do remember that my theory test was at the end of the test when they flipped over a book. Ali went, "What's that?" And I was like, I got them all right, but it was like they just flipped through the flip chart. And they went, "What's
Yeah,
this? What's this? What's
easy.
this?"
Same for
That was
myself.
well, that was what I passed.
I cannot remember at any point in time my instructor ever opening a book when I was in the driving license. And if you look here, I've got a nice shiny new one because I was at a convention the other week, the weekend there. This is an instructor book for helping teach people to drive. And not only that, this is, I'm very impressed with this one. This is a student's book as well. And just one of the people that I'm going to be talking to more about other elements. But we have road safety partners, as we're calling each other, who want to work with us because of how we are presenting ourselves
Yeah,
to the wider public. There's a lot of great people out there that do what I do in Dunfermline and beyond. I have great friends with a lot of people out there, and I've learned a lot from them. And but we are trying to do our way, do our thing,
yeah,
bring personalities through. But the most important part of it still goes back to that person sitting beside us in the car,
it's
which
true.
is really exciting.
Can I
And I
ask you a
learned a lot of
question,
that
Jim?
stuff from a driving instructor uh, point of view. And I'm going to give him a shout out here, a guy called Stuart Murray, who still works as a driving instructor in the town, who was my instructor trainer. He was one of the AA's trainers, main guys in Scotland, and he lives in Dunfermline. And I'm giving him a shout out because the guy, and I embarrass him so many times by great result, but you were taught with the master by the master. But the greatest compliment I could give him is he now uses me as a confidant and bounce things off as well. So we're maybe kind of working on the same page anyway. So yeah, so that's I'm going to give him a shout out because he is
Fantastic.
the
I
reason
love
I'm
that.
doing what I'm doing now to
Bang
get
on. I need to ask you a question, Jim.
yeah.
Be honest. You as a driving instructor, when you're not in the driving instructor, when you're going out, you're driving your wife around, do you drive 10 to 2?
I drive based on appropriate, but my hands are on the steering wheel. That looks like the 8:45 there. A quarter nine, yeah. But
So
the
you are a 10 to 2 driver
yes, most of the time, and
most of the time.
I would also say, let's get rid of one of the myths. You will not fail your driving test if you cross your hands. You will fail your driving test if it screws up your steering and your road position altogether. At that point, it's serious or dangerous to other road users, but you will not fail crossing your hands. It's about
Oh,
control.
interesting.
Okay, so there you are. So yeah, so it has been a pleasure to be on here tonight. Um, Maybe this will be the trial run. I don't know, but there's so much to talk about and what we do, and I'm always interested in what you're doing as well, Cuddy. So, thank you. I'm one of your 35 million followers, so that's all
It's
good.
not millions yet. It's only
But
34,000.
we're trying our very best. So, yeah. So, shout out for Primrose Driving School again. If there's anybody out there, please get in touch. If we can't help you, we know somebody that can.
Absolutely. Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Mind Management Mentors podcast. I think talking about micro sleeps, how the brain works, is exactly what the podcast is about. But you are literally a man saving lives by giving people the skills and the tools to drive safely. And that's a passion and it's a gift that you have, Jim. So thank you very much for sharing that. And for everybody that's watching the podcast, if you've liked the content, like and subscribe, share the podcast in the world because these podcasts are all about solutions and helping people with some of the questions that they might have. Microsleeps, who would have thought? Thanks as always. Big love from Cuddy. Say thank you, Jim.
Thank you, everybody.
And we'll see you on the next episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast.